Hey, what's up? So, if you're watching this, you're probably a coach or a consultant running paid ads to fill up your calendar, right? And on paper, things looks like they're working. Your ads are running, the leads are coming in. Calls are getting booked here. You got a funnel that's doing what it's supposed to do. But somewhere between that booking confirmation and the client actually showing up on the call, or even after they're on the call, things are just falling apart, right? The leads are ghosting, the book calls aren't showing up, or people who were genuinely interested are just going cold, right? And you're sitting there thinking that your ads are working, your offer is solid, your sales process is decent, but why does it feel like the money is just leaking out of your funnel? Maybe you tried fixing it with new scripts, more aggressive follow-ups, a better closer, or maybe even you even considered just spending more on ads to compensate, right? And none of it fully solved the problem. And that's exactly what this video is about, right? And by the end of it, you're gonna see exactly where your pipeline is leaking and what to do about it. So let me just name what's actually going on here, because I talk to coaches and consultants every week, and the same these five things keep coming up. Number one is low show up rates, right? You're booking calls, people are saying yes, and then they goes, right? They no show, they cancel the last minute, and it's not just it's annoying, but every no show is a real money walking out the door, right? And number two is your follow up is either non-existent or it's way too salesy, right? So the leads that don't buy on the first call, they just disappear. So nobody's working on them, or if someone is, the follow up is just so pushy that kills the relationship before it starts, right? Three is you've got a dead list just sitting there, right? Hundreds, maybe thousands of people who opted in at some point, they showed interest, and now they're just cold, right? And nobody's touching them, or that's already a list of people who already raised their hand, and you're just leaving them on the table. Number four is your pipeline feels like a black hole, right? Leads go in and you have no real visibility into where they are dropping off, right? Is it a pre-call, a post-call sequence, after a no-show? You're not totally sure, which means you can actually fix it. And lastly is that you feel like the only lever you have is running more on ads, right? Like the answer to more revenue is always just spend more and get more leads, right? But your cost per lead is just going up and your close rate isn't. And that math is getting scary every month. Now, here's what it actually looks like on the other side of this, right? So once you figured out all those five, then your show up rate just goes up without changing your offer, your price, or even your ad spend, right? Second is your pipeline starts working for you in the background. So that means those leads that went cold, they just come back warm, right? So people who said not right now, they come back ready to buy on their own, right? Because they got the right message at the right time. And your close loss leads for those deals that didn't make it on the call, percentage of them convert, not because you chased them down, but because you had a system running. And your dead list, the ones that have been sitting there in your CRM that's just doing nothing, they start generating revenue again without a single new dollar on ads, right? So that is what a fixed pipeline looks like, right? It's more revenue from the leads that you already have. Now, here's the part that I want you to pay attention to, because most coaches that I talk to have already tried to solve this, right? And the things that they tried aren't working. So, before I show you what does work, then let me just first call out what doesn't. Now, the first thing that maybe you try doing to fix those problems that we stated earlier is by hiring a setter or a closer, or maybe if you have one, you're just adding more setters and closers to your team, right? And this is the commonest one, because look, good salespeople matter, right? But if your show up rate is 40%, then your setter is just spending half their time chasing ghosts, right? So essentially, the problem isn't the closer, but it is what's happening before the call, right? The next thing is that they try to make more aggressive follow ups, right? You're blasting your list with, hey, just checking in messages, maybe on SMS that your setter are trying to spam messages on a prospect, right? Or you're sending or you're just sending the same follow-up email 5 times, right? That doesn't re-engage people because it just trains them to ignore you. Third is rebuilding your offer or rewriting your VSL, right? I've seen coaches do a complete rebrand thinking that that's the issue, right? And sometimes the offer doesn't need work, because if your pipeline is leaking, then a better offer just means that you're losing better qualified leads and the leak is still there. And lastly is that they spend more on ads to compensate, right? And this one is what hurts the most, because you're essentially pouring water into a bucket with holes in it, right? So it's just more input with the same leaky output. And none of these four things fix the actual problem. They're all trying to solve a pipeline problem by changing things that aren't a pipeline. Now, here's the real diagnosis, because your pipeline is leaking, and those leaks aren't in your ads, your offer, your team, or even your ad budget, right? Because the leaks are in the gaps, right? The dead zones between each stage of your sales process where leads fall through and nobody catches them, right? Think of it like this: they book a call, right? Then nothing happens between that booking and the call itself, right? So there's no touch points, there's no reinforcement, there's no reason to show up, for them to show up excited. So that's why they flake. Or if someone gets on a call and doesn't buy, what happens next, right? Because in most coaching businesses, there's nothing. Maybe just a follow up email a week later, but they don't realize that that lead isn't actually dead, right? They just needed more time or more trust, and if there's no system that's working them, then eventually they just go cold. Or if someone cancels and says, I need to think about it, or they were a lead 6 months ago, now they're a dead lead because they've been sitting on your list ever since, right? Every single one of those moments is a revenue leak, right? And most coaching businesses have four, five, six of this running simultaneously, right? They're bleeding revenue they already paid to acquire. Now, this diagnosis here is the real problem. So it's not your ads, your team, but these gaps that's been going on in your backend. So what actually plugged those leaks? And what I've built and what I install for other 7 to 9 figure clients in the coaching and info industry is what I call the call flow system, right? And it is a set of behavioral email sequences that runs in the background of your sales process. So specifically designed to cover those gaps that we mentioned earlier. So I'm not gonna walk you through every single email of these sequences because that would take way longer than this video. But let me just show you the framework because it's actually pretty simple once you are going to see it. So there are 7 points in a coaching funnel, right? Where leads are most likely to leak out, and for each one there's a specific sequence designed to plug it. Now the first one is a lead nurture sequence, and this is for new opt-ins who haven't booked yet, right? And this is what warms them up and gets them to take the next step to apply for a call, right? The next one is a pre-call nurture sequence, and this is for leads who book a call, right? And this sequence, it runs in the days before the call, and it does three things, right? One is it builds authority. Number two is it pre-frames the conversation, and third is it gives them a reason to actually show up, right? This one alone moves show up rates significantly up to 70+%. Of course, with great copy that's filled with value. Now the next thing is a no-show recovery sequence, and these are for leads who booked but didn't show up, right? Instead of having your seller chase them manually, this sequence re-engage them automatically and gets a percentage back on the calendar. So fourth thing is a cancellation recovery sequence. So same idea, but this is for people who canceled their appointment, right? So the copy here is going to be a different psychology and a different message. Fifth one is a close loss recovery sequence, and these are for people who got on a call and didn't buy, right? So basically the deal wasn't closed by your seller, or maybe your seller or your closer rather messed up during the call, or maybe what the instance is. We can't really guarantee that all deals are going to be closed during the call. That's why there's a close a lot recovery sequence for those people that didn't buy on a call. And because most businesses just let these leads die, right? And what this sequence does is it keeps the relationship warm, and it's gonna bring back a percentage back when those people are gonna be ready. Now, if we go back here, is this is going to be the sixth one, and this is a dead list reactivation sequence. And these are for cold leads who haven't engaged in months, right? And this is the one that surprises people the most because a lot of those leads aren't actually gone, right? They just haven't had a reason to come back. And lastly is a closed one or LTV sequence. And this is for existing clients made for retention, upsells, and referrals because the most valuable lead that you have is the one who already bought. So that's it. 7 sequences, plugged all the 7 leaks, and the whole system runs in the background, and you don't have to think about it once it's installed. And here's the thing that I really want to drive home before we wrap up: you don't need more leads. And I know that feels counterintuitive, especially if you've been told that the answer is always more traffic, more ad spend, more volume. But most coaching businesses that I look at have hundreds and sometimes thousands of leads already sitting in their list who never converted, right? And those leads already know you. They already opted in because they were already interested enough to raise their hand at some point because the trust barrier is low, and the cost to re-engage them is basically zero compared to acquiring a new lead. Before you increase your ad budget, the question worth asking is, what percentage of my existing leads have I actually exhausted, right? What's sitting in my list right now that I haven't touched in 6 months? Because that's usually where the fastest revenue is, not from new leads, but from the ones that you already have that just fell through the cracks. Alright, so if this one's resonated, here's what I suggest as a first step, right? So, not a sales call, but by just booking a 15-minute screen share where we look at your pipeline together and map out where your leaks are, right? Because every funnel is a little different. Some coaches are leaking mostly on no shows, some have a dead list problem, and some are losing close leads that they could easily recover, right? So the audit helps us figure out exactly which leaks are costing you the most. So if you do decide to install something, then you know exactly what to prioritize. So yeah, it's free, it's 15 minutes, and worst case, you walk away knowing more about your funnel than you did before, right? If that sounds useful, then there's a link below to grab a spot. Just pick a time that works, and we'll do the screen share together. So yeah, that's it. There's no pressure. It's still up to you. You're not forced to do it, but yeah, just a suggestion on the first step that you're gonna do, right? Talk soon and have a good one. See you in the next one.